I think the UK basically is going through an extreme experiment that is being led by politicians on both the left and the right, both Labour and the Tories, who over the last 20 years have basically opened the floodgates, have imposed on the British people a policy that very few people in this country actually support.
Really, it's Eid Mubarak. Thank you, Keir.
Let us just ask you quickly, you have to choose now between Davos or Westminster.
Davos.
Get out of my pub!
Ali, Ali, who the fuck is Ali?
This happened by design, not accident. Policies were reformed deliberately to liberalise immigration, to turn Britain into a one-nation experiment in open borders.
And which is now making Britain poorer. I think the evidence now shows that. More divided, less prosperous. And I think unless we get our arms around this problem and stop it and address it and end the period of mass uncontrolled immigration, we're going to have enormous problems.
An estimated 35 to 50% of all sub-Saharan African populations either prefer or accept cousin marriages, and it is extremely common in the Middle East and in South Asia. The reason the practice is so common is that ordinary people see family intermarriage overall as something that is very positive, something that helps build family bonds and helps put families on a more secure financial foothold.
Yeah, so firstly, I mean, the scale of the changes we need to think about. I mean, over the last couple of years, we've had 2.5 million people migrate into the UK. That's equivalent to about two cities the size of Birmingham in 2 years. Got much of that migration now, thanks to Boris Johnson and the Tories, is coming from outside of Europe. So about 86% of all migration into Britain is now coming from outside of Europe, from Zimbabwe, Nigeria, Pakistan. And a lot of folks in Westminster will say, well, this is good for the economy, but actually only about 16 to 18% of people who are coming into Britain now, 16 to 18% are coming in on high-skilled worker visas. So you think, well, who the hell's coming in? Who else is coming in? Students, the relatives of workers, asylum seekers, illegal migrants. Mass immigration is making us poorer. So what I'm trying to say, to be clear, if you're watching this from Britain or you're watching this from Europe, wondering what the hell's going on in Britain, basically you've been lied to by left and right. And you've been lied to by Boris Johnson and the Tories.
Sir, Lance Corporal Johnson reporting for duty and...
And you're now being gaslit by Keir Starmer and the Labour government.
We love Trump! We love Trump! We love Trump!
It's not part of their blood. It came to them very late, with long arrears to make good, when the English began to hate.
Because we don't have a high-skill migration policy. We have mass, uncontrolled, unprecedented, low-wage, low-skill migration, which is making us poorer and is culturally incompatible. I would argue we are importing masses of people from radically different cultures, from radically different societies. And what that is doing, as serious scholars like Robert Putnam at Harvard and others have shown, rapid demographic change on the scale that we have in Britain is pushing us into a low-trust society, a divided society, where people hunker down and they turn away from their neighbours because they don't know their neighbours anymore. And that's basically what's happening in Britain. Nobody in Westminster really wants to face up to this reality, except to some people outside of the big two parties that we'll come back to. But this is being imposed on everybody because it benefits big business. Let's be clear about who's benefiting. It benefits global corporations who want masses of cheap labor because it keeps their costs low and their profits high. It's also benefiting the kind of radically progressive, woke new elite in London, Oxford, and Cambridge because they want to feel good about themselves. They want to have that sense of virtue, that sense of moral righteousness, and they won't live with the negative effects of this policy because they tend to live in neighbourhoods that are not affected by it.
They were not easily moved. They were icy, willing to wait till every count should be proved.